Hi, welcome. This is the SMG Blacklist podcast, brought to you by the Southgate Media Group. You can find us at southgatemediagroup.com. I'm your host, Jacqueline Grosky, and with me is
Melissa Maxey.
And we're going to talk about episode number 17, which is number 88 on the list, Ivan. So what did you think about this week?
This week I thought it was great. That was a great episode.
Yeah, I saw kind of a lot of mixed reviews online. I was really excited about it. I can see where there's some different opinions about where we've seen so much, and we kind of want Liz almost to catch up to us.
Yeah, she's pretty close. She's close now.
And the other is the two storylines that seem to really not pair together very well are each of our kind of our person of interest on the list and catching their crimes, and the interpersonal relations between Red and Liz.
Right.
I guess you could put Liz and Tom kind of in that mix with Red and Liz, and we really kind of, except for the fact that they're kind of all happening at the same time, how much do you figure that they need to be intertwined?
I don't really think that they do. I mean, it's kind of like, in the X-Files, they had the conspiracy stuff going on all the time on the side, and then they had their, let's find this monster, monster of the week. It's kind of like that, and it works well, because you don't want to have the conspiracy side going all the time. You want it to be given to you in small chunks so that you have something to, look forward to of finding out. So that's what makes it so fun to watch the show, because they're kind of doing it that way.
Yeah, and I don't think without Red that Liz would really be a part of the story.
No.
That the team basically kind of exists because of Red, and when you kind of put it all together, yes, you're seeing all the different elements, but I think Reddington is the one that kind of bonds each storyline, and we're kind of seeing everything from different angles.
The central character, I mean, he's definitely the center of the universe in this series, and everything else spiderwebs out and is connected. Everything's connected in some way, Each one of the criminals is connected to Red, and then, there's all the other factions going on that are connected to him too, and then they all intertwine. So there can be a lot of overlap between all the different stories, and they could, have potential to do lots of things with that.
Well, one of the criticisms this week was the teen love angle that, we kind of see in the first. We see the computer and the safe house being hacked into, and of course, the master criminal has hacked into really almost every system already. There's this NSA safe house, and they're kind of holding this prototype. They get overrun by a hacker. So the agent grabs the prototype, runs, and we see that it's really a young guy comes in, crashes the car by hacking into the CPU of the car. Inadvertently, the guy dies, but really, he didn't hesitate. He grabbed the technology and ran. Really almost, my first thought was, if this guy can do all this already, what does he really need the skeleton key for?
Well, I thought that the believability of it about the skeleton key was kind of hokey. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it had a little bit of Harry Potter-ish kind of feel to it.
It did. Well, I do think that, we do have young people that are that bright and can do that stuff at a very tender age, but he would really have to have to start with major technology to do what he was doing.
Right.
I don't think you can do that with the average iPod. Something that, this kid's grandmother, I got little Jimmy a Samsung GT4 with a, octagon processor, and then he pretty much hacks into
the CIA.
The NSA, the cell phone networks, the email networks.
Yeah.
And, if he's really doing this already, okay, but I think the thing that got everybody's goat was, of course at this point, spoiler, we're fast forwarding to the end. The motivation all for this was teen love. Boy, I mean, that was really a whole lot of work for that.
Yeah, that's why that part of the story was a little bit hokey. I mean, if they would have made it, if he wasn't a high schooler, he was a college student maybe, or, it seemed, that wasn't really, I mean, as far as this, this episode goes, that wasn't what I was really focusing on. I was more interested in the Tom and Liz aspect of it, because we were waiting for something to happen, for some sort of reveal or, and I was interested in the interaction between Liz and Red too, because, there was a lot of stuff going on between them this episode. So, as far as the kid, it was kind of like a side, it was like last, like I wasn't really paying attention to it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think they kind of forget that this is the Blacklist, and I think the Blacklist has almost become a minor part of the storyline when we get we're still trying to find out what the relationship between Red and Liz is.
And I thought it was pretty cool that, Mr. Kaplan showed up right at the beginning. Mr. Kaplan calls Red and Denby, they meet, out in the woods. They find, she found Jolene's body and the cowboy's body. I thought that was a really good, really good sequence. I like to see those characters together because they're really strong characters, and Mr. Kaplan and Red always have this banter going on, and she, made a joke to him about a field autopsy and having him watch it, and he was like, yeah, maybe later. I thought that was pretty good.
What was the kind of wool sweater that she had?
I don't know.
I tried to rewind that a couple times, but it was like, it was a certain type of wool. I'm going to have to kind of go back and find out, but they were talking about Christmas presents, and my favorite quote of that is, "Your ability to find a crime scene is nothing short of amazing." Something about working with.
Yeah, he called her the human bloodhound.
Well, she is.
Yeah. She's amazing. They could totally do a whole series on her.
Oh, I totally would watch that.
I would totally watch that. I mean, that would be a great spin-off.
So, Red's kind of, what is it called, Capillero. He's, his captain. He reports Jolene as a missing person, which really kind of takes any of the kind of the stress off Red or having to tell anybody. All of a sudden, the police just start to report it. They kind of come to their own conclusions and send the detectives right to Tom Keene, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, too.
Yeah,
probably because he works with her because she's a substitute teacher at a school.
Right,
Or Red said something, like, maybe you should check out who she's been hanging out with.
Well, the detective did say that they were checking everybody that she had been working with. Mm-hmm. But, Tom, for all his, I guess, we're led to believe that, he's this master spy, apparently now from Berlin, that he really hasn't covered his tracks that well, that it takes like a New York detective about 15 minutes to make a small connection between Tom Keene and Jolene.
Yeah.
I still got that Jolene song stuck in my head every time I hear her name.
Sing it.
Jolene. That's about all. That's about all I want to do on
Hey,
that
that's
one.
pretty good.
That is a great old song. So,
I thought that was, the detective coming to the door. But you know what was cool about it was just the whole, I got the feeling that he was nervous about it. Like he kind of put that off, that he was kind of nervous about the detective being there asking questions.
well, he did that kind of blank puppy dog look that Tom's famous for. Yeah, a lot of people, I guess I'm going to say I think the average female viewer, I think, are they digging on Tom?
Oh, they're digging on Tom.
And there's just something, I don't know, maybe
The bad boy thing, he's a bad boy.
I don't know. Red's a bad boy. Tom is.
Oh, now, okay, if you were gonna do a poll between who's digging on Tom, versus who's digging on Red. Now, Red's gonna have more of it. It's gonna be the scale will be tipped because Red has more women, fawning over him, and than Tom. There's a few out there, Tom, but for Red, it's they have their own Red's army, going on and stuff. So, there's no comparison there.
Well, I realize he's the young stud of the show, but every time he gives that blank kind of, oh, what me look, it just it annoys me. It's just dude, buck up. Even before I was really starting to be convinced that maybe Red was setting him up. And then all of a sudden it's, you know what, there's way too many clues here looking the other direction. But every time I saw him kind of do that puppy dog eye thing, it just kind of annoyed me. It's dude, I want to say, dude, buck up, get a pair.
Yeah, and that's just part of his game.
Right.
He wants everyone to think that he's this,
just confused, lost little child.
Confused, lost teacher.
Yeah. But then in 5 minutes, not even in 5 minutes, he kills the cowboy and Jolene, two very competent agents, and this guy can't, he doesn't even have the wherewithal to hide his passports and money in a good place.
Yeah, that was well, I don't know. Is he smart? Is he not smart? I don't know.
I'm just waiting for Red to be done with him.
Oh, I can't wait. I think they're going to play with him for a little while first, though, and that's going to be entertaining. So.
Well, it is. I don't think that they'll, well, see, that's the thing, is what do you do with him now? Because Red can't let him last much longer. He's going to be
I don't know. Red's going to use him until he can't use him anymore. He wants information still. I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but Tom has lots of information he can give Red, and I think that, he's just going to have Liz play the game right back.
Yeah, maybe so. But I really think this Tom thing would have been a great cliffhanger for the end of the season.
Yeah, you wanted to drag it out more.
Well, yeah, you figure, let's say the average lifespan of a TV series, let's say, is 7 to 10 years. Where do you go with Liz now without Tom? Tom was this undercurrent where you just didn't know, and he's always taking these little trips and interviews and school conventions, and we knew what was going on, but you could have made it the season 1 cliffhanger, and dealing with Tom could have really almost been the entire second season. Now, I think for the cliffhanger, we're going to have to do something about Tom.
Yeah, that's, something's going to happen between Tom and Liz for the cliffhanger, but I think for the series, what would be pretty cool is to kind of flip Liz, because, she's not, and they've hinted at her not being just the, meek and mild profiler, that she actually does have a past. So what exactly is Liz's past? That would be fun to kind of mess around with as far as getting into further seasons. Tom is like a means to an end. He's probably just going to last the season and then they're going to kill him off. I can't imagine him coming back for the second season, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. It seems like they've set up a fairly popular character in Tom, but there's really not much more we can do with him. And I don't think you can turn him into a type of character where they've really fallen in love. I mean, they've been married for 2 years, and he's already knocked her out.
Let's talk about that scene for a second. Let's go back and talk about that for a minute.
But bam!
Yeah, Liz finds an address for Jolene and is doing some investigating and calls Tom on the phone and asks him about the address, and it's the address for the warehouse, and he's in it, and she's getting ready to walk through the door. So he's like scrambling inside, tearing down pictures and, throwing them in a pile so he can burn them. And, right as she's getting through the door, and she starts wandering around in there looking at all the stuff, all the weapons and all the burner phones and, all the stuff that he's just left behind because he's still there, and she gets out, follows him outside, and they play this cat and mouse game where, she goes one way, he goes the other. And, so then he's hiding out, and then to distract her because she's between him and the door, he pushes the door into her and knocks her down.
Well, as soon as he tried to pull the door over him, and of course the door creaks, and it's like, okay, now what?
Oh. No, I expected that he would probably, use the door to I expected the door thing. I expected him to, push the door and knock her down and stuff, but to actually go in and then punch her in the face, I was just like, whoa, what are they doing?
Yeah, he is not ever going to fall back in love with this girl. He's about 2 seconds from getting the call to eliminate her if necessary.
Oh my gosh.
Which I don't really get this. I mean, he's been sitting on top of her for 2 years. So to me, I think they're trying to get to Red, but Red is fairly easy to get. He's in there to get something, I think, from Red, not to kill him, because he could have killed him at the hospital. And why didn't Tom make any connection between Red and the adopted dad? I mean, he didn't.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't even on his board.
Right. So, I mean, does he know that she's working with Red? That Liz and Red are connected? I mean, he barely knows, what her gig is, although she seems to hesitant to talk about it all the time, about what she is, but he's been in the complex. In fact,
well, he has to know they're working together because he on his board he had pictures of them during their investigations.
Right.
So he knows they're working together. But you're right. He's probably we haven't really figured out what their end is as far as what kind of information they want. It seems like each one of them, like Red and Tom, both of them are trying to get information from each other.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, and Tom was in Ground Zero at their, at the FBI, deep.
Oh yeah.
Almost to the point where they really wanted to pull Liz off the team.
Right.
And so, but I mean, really, what is she really holding back from Tom? It's like he already kind of knows that this stuff's going on. Somebody's came in and stabbed him in the leg. And why did Tom, if Tom is that bad, why did Tom let this guy come in and stab him in the leg and torture him? And
yeah, and he thinks Red did it.
Yeah, quite possibly. But we know that that was that other group, which we still really haven't found out who did that.
No, we haven't.
We just know it wasn't Red. And really, we kind of thought it was maybe Tom Keen's people, but it's not them either.
No, it's probably Mr. Finch's people, right? It's his people. We don't really know who he's...
Right.
who he's dealing with. We've only had small snippets of that, and that's probably going to be part of the season finale, I would guess, because they're holding it back for so long.
Yeah. So, let's see, that gets us back to the Ivan story, and we find out that Ivan, the reason that Ivan is really on the list isn't he's so much a threat, but he stole about $5 million from Red.
Yeah.
And I guess he was playing some poker or something with Ivan's brother. The next thing he knows, his wallet's gone, and there's $5 million missing from his account. And of course, Red wants it. Red not only
it was $8 million, right?
No, that's what he got back because he wanted interest on the $5 million.
That's right.
So he goes over. He finds Ivan in Belarus. And then we find out that Ivan's not even, he's the hacker, but he's not the hacker that we're looking for that stole the prototype.
Yeah, I thought that was cool when they're on the plane, after his, getting him out of the restaurant ruse. And let's not forget the ruse was him getting to shoot Wrestler in the chest.
Yeah.
Seemed to enjoy a little bit too much.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and, it almost seemed
like
the
wrestler had a broken heart. It might as well, shoot him in the heart because his heart's broken.
That's right. And they're really kind of skimming over that a little. Like, yeah, you should go home and take it easy, man. And what's her name? It came behind and she, do you think they bought it? And she said, yeah, I did. I wonder if she really thought that he'd gotten tagged in that.
Maybe. He did a really good job. I mean, that was pretty good. Pretty believable.
Yeah, and stretching the believable was the FBI and the NSA clash, where they come in, have a showdown, and the director, he comes out and, kind of stares him down, and, well, you don't have clearance. He said, well, here's the deal. I could hold you up here till we get a warrant and all your evidence goes away, or you can tell me what's going on. They're finding out more and more, and so they put together that the hacker is really what was the
17-year-old?
17-year-old, yeah, and who's what's
his name is Harrison Lee.
Right, and they find him because one of the hacks was his grandmother's Social Security pension, and all of a sudden it increased, and they're like, they go to, and she's like, "No, you can't get me on this. I can't even open my computer, but I got one for my grandson."
Yeah, dun dun dun. So. Yeah, so then it, flashes to him being in school, and then we're like, oh my gosh, he's a high schooler. And then, I kind of lost interest at that point, which is kind of sad, but, wanted it to be, I wasn't expecting it to be a high schooler, Yeah, it's supposed to be Ivan. Ivan's supposed to bring it.
I know, and in fact...
Not some punch-drunk 17-year-old kid.
I know, and it was like, if this kid is this brilliant, of course, sometimes the really brilliant ones are, they really can't function very well in other parts of society, like interpersonal relations, and it was like a friend of mine that writes music, and he's just brilliant, but sometimes people say, there's just not room for anything else. And
right.
And so the personality profile of the kid kind of seemed to fit, but it was really kind of like you say, all of a sudden when you figure out it's the 17-year-old that, has pretty much got the whole world by the cojones, it's like, well, it did kind of lose a little interest.
I thought that, the chase scene, after he meets the girl, he, gets the girl to go to the subway system, and he lights her way, and it's all a romantic gesture gesture and stuff, and she gets down there, and then Liz chases him. A real part was the car's moving, and she shot the window out, like, down through it. That was pretty cool. And then the whole scene, the cars, he sped up the cars, and, he was gonna crash the cars. I kind of wish that they would have. Like, why didn't they crash the cars? That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, just stop it 5 minutes earlier.
Where's Spider-Man?
Spider-Man. Do whatever a spider can. Spins his web at Tom Keen, Liz and Red. They're so mean. Look out. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was amazing.
Hopefully we can edit that out.
No, we're not editing that out.
So speaking of the romantic gesture, how did you like Tom's call to Phantom Finance? Tom calls and says, "Tell Berlin I was forced to liquidate." Okay, where did Berlin come from? And why doesn't Tom talk with a German accent? There is no like
East German.
Yeah, there's no East Germany, there is no communist Germany anymore.
Yeah.
It's all.
It's a code word. Is it really Berlin, or are they just using that?
Oh, that
some Cold War aspect.
Yeah, that could be. Although he is westernized enough that it could be. I'm sure there are still factions. You can't take 50 some odd years of Russian occupation and that communism, really kind of taking over to not really have inner pockets that really long for the old days. I mean, look at Vladimir Putin. This guy's right out of the Cold War, trying to get the world back to the Cold War as quick as he possibly can, and who's to say that there's not in Berlin? And maybe we're going to have our blacklist equivalent here.
Maybe. There's lots of things they can do for sure.
Yeah, and we've seen the DC power go down. He knows the path to light up the way, and of course he finally meets up with her, and he's been hacking into a friend of hers text, another female. So when she finds out it's Harrison Lee, she freaks out.
Yeah, she freaked out pretty bad too. And in her trying to escape, she gets knocked out. So
now he's like freaked out and kind of suicidal, and hijacks a train which Liz breaks her way into. And
fabulous.
That was I
like seeing Liz being a badass. That's pretty fabulous.
Yeah, I want to see more of that.
Me too. They need to start getting busy with that, and I think that they will. I think that based on what I saw for the preview for next week, I think they're going to start turning it a little bit. It's going to be. I'd like to see her get a little bit darker as a character.
Well, I don't necessarily need to see her get darker, but I want to see more action. I want, I want like the G.I. Joe version of Liz. I don't want to see her boo-hooing in Red's arms every week.
No.
I want to see her do some like spin kicks and pop somebody in the head a couple times.
Yeah, me too. Let's do that.
And it was funny. I was in my Jeep after I finished my dinner. I went out and went back to the car, and I was parked, so I wasn't driving. So I plugged my phone into the Uconnect, and there was like a little delay. So with the sound from the picture on my phone, and so I see the glass, I see her like fly through the open glass, and then it's like, wait, what just happened? And like half a second later, I hear the pow pow of the shots, and of course now another second later, I start hearing the the delayed audio. It's like, oh, that was kind of weird. I have to say that was I really had to, like, figure it out, but it made me, like, really concentrate on it. And it was like, that was really cool. How many movies they get up to the train and the door's shut and they go, oh, it's closed. I lost my guy. No, Liz, pow, pow, blasts through the window and jumps in. It was like, why didn't they do this on, like, 15 movies before?
A little Black Widow action.
Exactly.
Oh, it was good. Good.
So, that kind of leaves us, she corners Harrison and kind of talks him down because he's, like, set the train on maximum for a big giant crash.
Right.
And so, we're getting all the way to the end of the track line to see whether or not this thing is actually gonna, actually gonna slow down, because she's changed this kid's mind about taking them both out with the train. But we've got to go through like 5,000 yards of track to figure it out. It was like the suspense was killing me.
Yeah, it was good suspense. I like suspense. It makes it fun and entertaining.
It does. So that that kind of leaves us back to Liz and Red. And, well, actually that takes us back to Liz and Tom.
Yeah, it takes us back to Liz and Tom when she gets home after work.
Yeah, so tell us a little about that.
Okay, so Liz comes home and he's cooking dinner like he always does, and she's waiting for some pictures to come back from the scene when she was at the warehouse where she got knocked down by her husband. And so she starts going through her computer, and because she asked for those pictures. And at the beginning of the episode, which we didn't talk about on purpose, Liz gave Tom this gift, and it was this little blue and gray, like, hippo thing, and she called him Uncle Flippo. Which I was like, why are they doing it? I'm like, why did she give him a gift like that? I'm like,
well,
they have a
you know what I thought? It really highlighted the fact that with a teacher that's supposed to be teaching these grade school kids didn't know what it was, and I thought that's why Uncle Flippo that's why we saw Uncle Flippo, because it was really highlighting the fact that Tom didn't know what it was and should have. And that was, I thought that was the end of that.
Yeah. I was just like, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I was just like, oh, she gave him some weird toy, to take to school. I'm like, that was kind of strange. And, and so here we are at the end of the show, and she's going through the photos from the warehouse and the photos from the trash can. She sees Uncle Flippo in the trash.
Yeah, I mean, what spy takes Uncle Flippo to the safe house? I'm no NSA guy.
I thought she was looking at, like, maybe there was a coffee mug or something in there that she recognized from home. I was kind of looking, through the screenshot of it, and I was like, Uncle Flippo! I'm like, what do you mean?
Well, as soon as she started going in on the trash, I figured there was going to be, like, a photograph or something. I had no idea it was going to be Uncle Flippo. It's like, yes.
I didn't either.
Tom, with your little stupid puppy dog looking, blank stare. You just got had. And I was like, somebody needs to shoot this guy now.
So
sorry,
then
ladies.
the look on her face, she goes from being the, devoted wife home after dinner to, like, realization. And then she flips back through her memory on all of the things that have happened and all of the things that, her relationship with him and everything, and she's just, like, mortified.
Yeah. Hello, duh.
Yeah.
Welcome back to reality and what everybody was telling you, Miss Liz.
So then we get to the part, where she, knock, 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 Red opens the door, and she's like, you were right. And he's like, come in. That was excellent. I love the end scene. The whole time I thought he was making a bomb. She visited him a couple of times throughout the episode, and he's working on this. He's got this table, he's got all these gears out, and I wasn't really paying attention to, what it was there was a box and there all these gears, and she's like, are you making a bomb? And I was like, I don't know what he's doing. Well, so at the end, it shows what he did. He put together this music box.
Well, my first thought was our conversation a show or two ago where, he's really kind of brought the fine arts into the show. Yes. And, his hobby is really kind of being that Renaissance man. And I really thought it was like a fine German timepiece. And it really reminded me of our previous conversations about that. So I knew it was something along those lines, but then, that music box really, we heard that music on some of her flashbacks.
Yes. And she talks about that. She talks about it. She's like, I recognize this song. She's like, I remember this song from when I was little. And then she flashes back through the fire again.
Right.
And holding the bunny.
Right. So she thinks that Liz thinks that Red has been building that music box to comfort her in her time of need. That, he knew that she was going to come, by the end of this, and somehow, this is kind of her, like, Red being soothing, but I don't think we can avoid the fact anymore that Red is her dad, and had built this out of kind of retrospect, or what do you call that?
Well, she said that her dad used to sing it to her, and she was talking about her adoptive dad, but I think that her real dad may have done that too, sang her that song as, holding her in his arms, and so it was kind of like coming full circle, where she's not where she was a little kid and he did that, and now she's an adult, and her realization about her life, the part that she knows about her husband, and so it came full circle, where he, is singing the song and, she's laying in his arms. I thought that was pretty sweet.
I don't think the adoptive dad had done it. I think she was referring to her actual birth father. I think she knows that she's adopted. At least that's my theory, I guess. But
that makes sense.
I guess we'll find out fairly soon, one way or the other, whether or not that she actually knows. I guess is the next question that we have to answer. But man, just it's like, wow, I can't believe that they really got to this point so early. Really, I really thought that we were going to start dealing with Tom, really sometime next season. And like you said, I think maybe to kind of keep him around, Red is going to have some sort of big plan for him.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to have Liz keep up the charade, so...
Yeah, I like
based on, next week's.
I like the look on her face. Oh, hey, something's wrong. I know that look. Oh, I'm fine. Oh, yes, dear. And like, he's been playing her this entire time, and now she just turned it around. Her life came crashing down, and she just looks up. Oh, please, I'm fine. I'm fine. You big giant rat.
Yeah.
Because if she'd have blinked...
Wait, I can't wait. I've always been like that, where she's standing there, yelling at him. I can't wait for the big showdown. I that's going to be fabulous.
I thought...
That, once that he finds out that she knows, it's going to be all gloves are off, game on.
Oh, yeah. I really think, he's got, like, Berlin Boy now has, like, this German Luger, stuffed in the back of his pants. And when she calls him out, he's going to try and pull it out. And then, just about the time he puts a bullet into Liz, that Red is going to come swinging on a vine and chop his head off with a machete at the very last minute. And when it happens, I will say I told you so.
I wonder if he'll have a fiery death.
I don't know, but, well, I don't think so, because I think Red is saving that for whoever killed his family.
Yeah.
That's the guy or girl that's going to get the fiery death for sure. What's what was the director's name? The lady from the defense committee. Gosh, I forget her name, but
I don't know.
She knew what happened, which really is like Red's end game, is just to find out. And he was so mad at her, he didn't even wait. He said, "I'll find out from someone else. You're going now." Whoever Red catches up to is going to get a special death. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun to watch.
So what did, I actually missed, I guess part of the, I don't know if, it wasn't on Hulu, but you said you saw the story for next week at the very end. So where are they going with this next week?
So what I remember is that they're renewing their vows. Liz and Tom, he asked her to renew their vows. Oh, so they go through, like, it shows them, like, actually being in a ceremony. I was like, oh no. I'm like, no. I'm like, don't do that. I'm like, you know, and then there's awkward moments between them where he goes to, like, touch her shoulder and she's kind of, like, cringing a little bit. And Red talks to her about, you know, now that you know, he goes, I want you to, like, keep up this pretense. You know, I want you to, you know, we're going to see if we can get information out of him. Type of thing, like she's gonna go undercover.
Right. Well, she's
undercover.
So she's gonna start doing to Tom what Tom's been doing to her.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's what they plan to do.
So I guess we're just gonna have to wait till next week then.
Yeah, and it's gonna be good.
It is.
Yeah, I don't want him touching her anymore. I'm like, ooh, don't touch her. She's going to be, like, cringing on.
I know. Well, you know, they're going to have, like, you know, love scenes and the vows and kissy and...
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to be just uncomfortable.
When she was flashing back, when she found out that Tom wasn't who he said he was, she flashed to the scene when they were in the shower, and she was... you know, cringing about it because, you know, they're married, you know, 2 years, they were trying to have a baby, and it's just, like, devastating for her. I'm not looking forward to next week when she's gonna be, you know, renewing her vows with him, you know, because she's gonna be, like, not wanting to touch him, not wanting him to touch her, and, you know, because she's just devastated because she talked in this episode today, her and Wrestler had that conversation about... you know, she invited him over for dinner, and he's like, no, he's like, I'm fine. He's like, you have someone to go home to. And she goes home to him and finds out that he's a lie.
I know. You know, I wonder, of course, they probably don't want to do this for the show, but Wrestler lost his girl. You know, she's about to lose Tom. Does that get the two of them together? And, you know...
maybe.
You know, I mean, they're like half the team.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's going to be, like, pretty awkward. And then the other thing I saw online is, you know, Wrestler and Red are the same rare blood type.
Whoa. What?
Remember back to the cage, Angelo Garrett, where he shoots Wrestler.
That's right.
And he's Wrestler's a very odd blood type, but lo and behold, Daddy Red happens to be the same rare blood type as Wrestler. So are we...
Is that a relation? A family relation? Like, are they going to play that?
I don't know,
they can play that.
That's a total speculation, which would mean if Wrestler and Liz kind of get together, they could turn out brother and sister, and that could go very bad.
Or cousins.
That's true.
Kissing cousins.
Yeah, this TV series could go way wrong way fast. But yeah, I don't know if they'll go that direction, just because that would become so convoluted. You know, that, you know, two random members of the team actually wind up related.
That's a little fringe-worthy.
It is. So, I guess that kind of takes us to the very end. Is there any kind of news, or?
I don't know. I don't have any news.
Well, let's put this all back together here. What was that?
The dryer.
What, did it fall over?
No, I just shut the door.
Oh.
My dog is being so naughty tonight.
Why, is he doing laundry?
No, but he thinks the floor mats are his personal chew toys, and he likes to drag them around the house. And then I got this keyboard from my aunt, and he was chewing on the stand legs tonight. So I was like, dang it!
Sounds like you need to go to the store and get him some other chew toys.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get Tom Keen's leg and arm.
Ooh, that'd be good. His glasses.
I wonder if he actually even needs glasses, and that's part of like his little Clark Kent thing.
Yeah, his little Clark Kent thing. That was exactly what I was gonna say.
He's gonna like whip off the glasses, and
They totally. I kind of wish that you were watching Person of Interest, because they did a cool little scene in last night's episode where he jumps out the window and they called him. Shoot, what's his name? What's that Avenger? The one with the shield?
Oh, Captain America.
Yeah.
You remember, like, the United States of America?
Yeah. Oh, that was funny. They called him Captain America, and he like flew out the window.
Oh, funny.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to check that out. Person of Interest. All right. Alrighty then.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So this was the SMG Blacklist podcast, brought to you by the Southgate Media Group. Go to southgatemediagroup.com and click on our sponsors. Give us some great ratings on iTunes and Stitcher, and check out some of our other podcasts. My personal Twitter is @JWendrowski. And Melissa, what is our show and your Twitter?
Our show is @TheBlacklist Pod, and mine is @MSMaxi.
Great. And it sounds like we have broken the 500 listener mark. So thank you. I know. Thank you to everybody. This is very exciting. And hopefully we will continue to build and grow. And we want to thank everybody for the support. And until next time on the list.
See you then.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fund going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.